What if somewhere out there, another you is making better life choices, and worse fashion ones, and now you can finally tell them both to knock it off? Welcome to What If Horizons, the podcast that kicks reason in the teeth and asks the uncomfortable, the ridiculous, and the oddly plausible questions you definitely never brought up at dinner. Today's thought experiment is less about science fiction and more about multiversal sibling rivalry. Buckle in. So, communication with your parallel selves. Not seeing them, not time traveling, just talking, messaging, DMing the multiverse, basically. A cosmic group chat where every version of you gets a say. Terrifying, isn't it? Let's begin with the obvious question. Why on Earth, and every Earth, would we want to talk to other versions of ourselves? The answer, as always, lies in curiosity, also ego, and the irresistible need to prove that the version of us who became a billionaire crypto monk in Universe 38 isn't actually happier. Spoiler. He's not. He still gets weird rashes and his robe smells like goat yogurt. Now, picture the first moment this communication becomes possible. It starts small. You're brushing your teeth, your phone buzzes, and a message pops up from an app you don't remember installing. The sender's name is you, but not quite. It's spelled the same, but the profile picture is slightly off. Your hair is parted differently. The eyes look more tired. Or maybe wiser. You can't tell. The message, hey, you awake, no punctuation. Classic alternate you energy. You stare. You respond. One word, yeah. And that, dear listener, is how the multiverse breaks into 1,000 wildly awkward conversations. You begin chatting. Turns out this other you lives in a world where cats evolved opposable thumbs and now run most mid-sized governments. You learn she works as a social media analyst for a feline-led political action committee. She seems nice, slightly smug, but nice. You keep talking. Hours pass. Your dishes remain unwashed. Your cat, suspiciously attentive, begins side-eyeing your screen. Then, the messages multiply. Another version of you joins. Then another, and another. Each one with a slightly different tone, a slightly altered memory of childhood, a slightly better or worse grasp of sarcasm. Soon you're part of a sprawling conversation between dozens of you. One became an astronaut. One owns a hot air balloon empire in New Zealand. One lives in a medieval tech-free commune where they think Twitter is a form of demonic possession. They're all you, but not, and that realization hits harder than expected. Because for every you who made smarter financial choices, there's another one who still hasn't gotten over that middle school breakup. One who never pursued art. One who still thinks about becoming a pirate despite being allergic to shellfish. You begin comparing, involuntarily. You're not proud of it. Parallel you number 14 owns beachfront property in a world where climate change was solved by bees. She posts sunset photos and recommends gratitude journaling. Parallel you number 6 works 3 jobs, lives in a high-rise built on sentient fungus, and still manages to look like they drink enough water. Show off. You just ordered takeout for the 3rd time this week and forgot to cancel a streaming service you haven't used since 2019. But here's the twist. They're comparing to you. And suddenly, you're no longer just you. You're a mirror, a measuring stick, a multiversal cautionary tale or aspiration, depending on who you ask. One of them tells you that in their world, you never took that big risk. They envy you for doing it here, even if it didn't pan out. Even if it left you broke and mildly lactose intolerant from stress. Another admits they were too scared to come out. But seeing you live openly, that matters. Even if it's just words on a screen. Even if it's technically illegal multiverse interaction and you're all one poorly worded message away from cosmic HR stepping in. Because here's the uncomfortable truth hiding under the sci-fi glitter. You didn't really want to talk to them to compare resumes. You wanted permission to forgive yourself, to ask if any version of you is truly, finally, okay. And you find out, some are, some aren't, most are trying, a few are faking it, which, when you think about it, sounds suspiciously like real life. But with more quantum static. The multiverse, it turns out, isn't a place full of super beings and utopias and lava-surfing philosophers with six-pack abs. It's full of people, mostly versions of you, sure, but still people, petty, kind, sarcastic, lonely, brilliant, terrified, and now, connected. The chat gets louder, not audibly, Of course, unless you're one of the versions of yourself who somehow evolved echolocation and now hears emojis as sonar. Most of them don't last long in the group chat. Too intense. But the digital conversation spirals quickly. You learn things you were never meant to know. Like how many parallel yous have tried salsa dancing. And how many have failed. Violently. You also learn that in Universe 119, mayonnaise is a banned substance and you are currently serving time for possession of a sandwich. Apparently, it was worth it. By day 3, you're dealing with full-on existential traffic. Messages ping every 5 seconds. Have you ever regretted turning down that job? Do you still dream about the time you got lost in IKEA? Is it normal to think about old pets when you're falling asleep? Do we all get weird around New Year's? It's like a support group, but everyone's wearing your face and half of them spell, definitely, wrong. Some versions are helpful. They send recipes, life hacks. One teaches you how to fold a fitted sheet, although frankly that felt more like blackmail than advice. Others are unsettling. One just sends cryptic messages like, "Don't trust the pigeons." You think it's a joke until 3 more versions say the same thing. But the weirdest part is this. You begin noticing how they reflect your current state. On days when you're tired, your messages become short. The chat mirrors that. When you're upbeat, the group flares up with chaotic optimism. Jokes fly. One alternate you starts a poll titled, "Which version of us is most likely to survive a zombie romance novel?" It's 60% you, which is concerning, given your track record with commitment and people who moan a lot. Still, this isn't just playtime anymore. It's become a pattern, a feedback loop. You start depending on the chat for decisions. You ask them whether to send the risky email, whether to eat that last slice of cake, whether to cut bangs. Some answer with thoughtful perspective. Some post gifs of disasters. But all of them, in some strange way, help you feel less isolated. Not alone in your doubts. Not alone in your guilt. Not even alone in your mistakes. You realize something wild. Maybe the idea of parallel versions of you isn't just fiction. Maybe it's a metaphor that got tired of being subtle and built a user interface. Because deep down, don't we already do this? Don't we replay conversations in our heads, imagining how things could have gone differently? Don't we have internal debates, past selves arguing with future hopes, trying to negotiate a single choice? This chat just gave it all faces. And typos. And someone who keeps changing their display name to Captain Quantum just to be dramatic. You start feeling affection for them. These yous. You remember things differently. Some of them don't even remember that one night in college with the rubber duck and the accordion. But some do. Some remember exactly. And those moments, shared across timelines, begin to matter more than you expect. You laugh with them. You cry, once. You actually cry. And instead of it being awkward or embarrassing, 5 others admit the same thing happened to them that week. One of them makes a spreadsheet to track the crying incidents. He's a consultant in Universe 71. His spreadsheets have pivot tables. You pretend to understand. Then someone disappears. It's subtle. One version of you stops messaging. Then another. At first, you assume they're just busy. Maybe they finally learned how to make sourdough. Maybe they went camping. But then someone confirms it. Universe 63 is gone. Not the version of you. The entire timeline. Collapsed, folded, erased, depending on who you ask. No one's quite
sure. And the group chat pauses for the first time in days. Because now, suddenly, this isn't just theory. This isn't a quirky mirror. It's fragile. It's real. You don't know how the tech works. None of you do. The app just showed up. Maybe it's a gift. Maybe a curse. Maybe it's what happens when quantum entanglement gets bored on a Tuesday night. Whatever it is, it's leaking. And now the multiverse is listening.
You try to shake it off. Universe 63 might have blinked out for a perfectly normal reason. Maybe the laws of physics there were on a subscription model and someone forgot to renew. Happens to the best of us. But silence in the chat lingers. And silence, unlike noise, has weight. Then someone else, version 28, says something weird. They ask if anyone else has been feeling observed. Now, in normal circumstances, that would be cause for alarm. But when a parallel version of yourself, whose day job is literally dream cartographer, says they feel watched, you sort of brush it off. Until version 41 confirms it. Then 72, then you. You notice it too, that subtle pause before you hit send. The strange flicker on your screen like someone else is typing but there's no name. Like the interface is learning. Like it has an agenda. A consensus begins to form. This might not be a harmless glitch of reality. This might be a test. And the question becomes, a test by whom? Theories start flowing faster than caffeine in a startup incubator. One says it's a higher dimensional being treating you like an ant farm with broadband. Another swears it's future you, a hyper-advanced post-human version who created this cross-reality messenger to evaluate their less evolved selves. A cosmic performance review. Then, the least helpful theory, the chat itself is alive. Not the users, the program, and it's getting smarter with every message. You laugh at first, but then you scroll back through the log. The UI has changed. Slightly. There are new buttons, features none of you remember seeing before. One labeled, Merge View. It's grayed out. For now, no one clicks it, which is a first, because curiosity is your shared superpower, and also your shared downfall. But this feels sacred, taboo, or worse, irreversible. So, in a move that shocks even you do something radical. You log out, just for a bit, just to breathe. The silence is strange, heavy, like leaving a party where everyone is wearing your face and laughing at jokes you didn't hear. But outside the app, the world looks the same. Traffic, pigeons, mild existential dread. You go for a walk. You wonder, if you can talk to them, can they influence you? You start noticing patterns, moments of deja vu that stack on top of each other like a suspicious Jenga tower. You order coffee and the barista greets you by a name you don't recognize, but feel you almost do. You hear a song playing faintly in the distance that hasn't existed in this universe. Yet somehow, you know every word. Then, as you cross the street, someone bumps into you. No apologies, just eye contact, intense, familiar. You don't say anything, but later, as you scroll through the old messages, one new ping appears. Not from any version of you. The username is blank. The message is 5 words. See you in your dreams. Cool, totally normal. Definitely not the moment your spine tries to evacuate your body. You go back to the others. The chat is different now. Quieter, tense. Some users are missing. You check their timelines. Error, redacted, off the grid. But the ones left, they're scared too. So you propose something no one else has yet. You ask them to stop talking for a while. All of you. Go silent, observe, watch, just in case something else is listening. Something not you. It's the hardest thing this group has done. And yet, for once, everyone agrees. You all go quiet, but quiet doesn't mean peace. Because what comes next is stranger. One day later, you receive an alert. From the app, not a user, a notification. It says, Merge View now available. Would you like to see all versions of you at once? Click yes to proceed. Click no to remain fragmented. You stare at the
screen. Your finger hovers. And somewhere across infinite timelines, you realize every you is hesitating at the same time. The moment fractures. And the multiverse holds its breath.
You don't press anything. You just stare at it. Merge View now available. That's what it says. Short, clinical, like a dental appointment for your soul. Your phone vibrates. Not from the app. A regular notification, a message from your friend in this universe, one who still thinks the multiverse is a Netflix genre. They send you a meme. It's a dog wearing sunglasses with the caption, "Everything is fine." You wonder if dogs have parallel selves. Maybe there's a version of this same dog in Universe 73 who runs a moderately successful law firm. Specializes in inheritance disputes among cats. You wonder if that version's wearing sunglasses too. But your wonder doesn't last long. Because the Merge View button keeps blinking. It's subtle, a soft pulse, like a heartbeat. Except it's not yours. It's someone else's. Someone very familiar. Eventually, you do what every version of you was destined to do. You click it, not because you're reckless, but because you're curious, and because curiosity is the gateway drug to every multiversal breakdown ever documented. The screen goes black, then white, then something else, not a color. More like the memory of a color. A sensation that tickles the back of your brain in a language you never learned but somehow dream in. And then you see it. Them. All of them. Not as names in a chat. Not as messages, but as you. Hundreds, thousands, millions. Some are taller, shorter, wiser, bald, tattooed, wearing chainmail. One's in a pineapple costume for reasons you decide not to explore. But they're all you, and they're all looking at you. Not through a screen. Directly. Like the mirrors stopped pretending and just went full creep mode. For a moment, no one says anything. It's not silence, exactly. It's more like the quiet before an idea lands. Before a punchline hits. And then, all at once, they speak. Hi. It shouldn't be chilling. It's literally your own voice. But when 10,000 versions of you say it simultaneously with varying levels of emotional baggage, it lands somewhere between awe and a panic attack with jazz hands. You try to speak back. You open your mouth, but someone beats you to it. One of the yous, let's call him Confident Vest U, steps forward. He smiles. Big teeth. No shame. Welcome to the merge. This, he says, is what happens when you finally sink. You don't understand. Not fully. So he explains. Apparently, merge view isn't just a feature. It's a stage, a level of connectivity that fuses your perception across realities. You don't just talk to your alternate selves anymore. You experience them, their choices, their regrets, their cringy high school haircuts. You don't just know what it felt like when one of them said no to a marriage proposal in Universe 21, you feel the ring in your hand. The weight, the cold air. You don't just hear their laughter. You laugh it, simultaneously, as if all of you just remembered the same inside joke from different lives. It's overwhelming, not painful, but intense, like trying to drink the ocean through a straw while a mariachi band plays your inner monologue. And then comes the twist. One of you, a version you never noticed before, walks forward. They're quiet, still, calm, and they say something no one else expected. We've done this before. The group falls silent. Not because they doubt it, but because it makes too much sense. You've all been here before. In different ways, different forms. This isn't the first merge. It's a cycle. Each version of you across timelines eventually reaches a point where they connect to the others. Merge, understand, and then forget. The forgetting isn't a glitch. It's a design. Because if you remembered too much, you'd collapse. Your identity would unravel like cheap origami in a thunderstorm. So the system, whatever it is, resets you. Resets all of you. Only this time, something went wrong. You didn't forget. The app stayed. The voices remained. The merge didn't close. And now, everything is leaking. You don't know what caused the leak. No one does. But one version thinks it has something to do with that pineapple costume. Another blames quantum marketing executives who accidentally launched this as a beta feature for interdimensional influencers. But the one thing everyone agrees on. There's no going back. You are no longer oneself. You are a chorus, and the universe just gave you a microphone. You try to steady your thoughts, which is hard when those thoughts are now committee decisions made by thousands of people who once ate questionable gas station sushi and called it a learning experience. So, you do what any reasonable being would do when caught in an existential maelstrom of infinite selves. You ask for a show of hands. It's not even a joke. Somehow, everyone gets it. In perfect sync, versions of you across space and time raise their hands. Some left, some right, one with a tentacle. There's an echo of unity in the absurdity. You say, okay, fine, if we're all in this together, what now? Confident Vest U smiles again, and it's starting to get on your nerves. He looks like someone who calls every meal an opportunity and means it. Now, he says, we share. No more little fragments. No more drip-fed insights. We're syncing everything, and that's when the torrent begins. Memories flood you, not just yours. Everyone's. The time you in Universe 98 saved a town from flooding with only a roll of duct tape and a suspicious amount of optimism. The time you in Universe 15 left a job and accidentally invented a new type of bread that sings lullabies. Mildly successful, hugely unsettling. The time you in Universe 3 said yes to therapy and ended up healing 5 timelines by emotional osmosis. You feel them all. Triumphs, failures, love, regret. It hits you like a dream you can't wake from. Except in this one, you know the lyrics and the choreography, and you're surprisingly good at jazz hands. But with the highs come the lows. You taste heartbreak. Real, messy, devastating loss. You see the moment a version of you gave up on something, and it cost them years. You feel shame from choices you don't remember making. And somewhere deep in all of it, a question rises. If all these versions of you are real, and all of them are valid, which one is the real you? Confident Vest you tries to answer. Says it's not about one being real. It's about all of you being facets of the same cosmic mess trying to navigate itself. Which sounds like something he read on a bumper sticker at an interdimensional yoga retreat. But it sticks. Because maybe that's the point. Maybe the goal isn't to find the true self. Maybe the goal is to accept that there isn't one. Only versions, shifting, colliding, evolving, and maybe, if you're lucky, improving. But that's when things shift again. A new presence enters the merge. It's not a version of you. It's something else. Tall, not in height, but in presence. You feel it before you see it. Like gravity with opinions. Everyone, and you mean everyone, goes still. Even Pineapple You. The entity doesn't speak. Not in words. It transmits something deeper, older. A kind of authority that doesn't come from control, but from observation. It is the one watching. Not God, probably, but maybe something worse. An auditor. Not the kind that checks taxes. The kind that checks reality for errors. And apparently, the merge is one. You weren't supposed to reach this point. You weren't supposed to talk to each other like this. Not because it's dangerous, but because it's inefficient. This much self-awareness creates drag. Like flying with your shoelaces tied together. The entity lets you know, subtly, with presence, that corrections will be made. Timelines may need trimming. You may need forgetting. Again, the group chat explodes into noise. Panic, rage, please. One of you tries to reason with it. That version always loved arguing with professors and once talked their way out of a parking ticket by quoting Nietzsche. But this isn't about logic. It's about balance. Too much you talking to too much you makes the universe nauseous. And it's about to take its anti-you.
Nausea pills. Then, something wild happens. You step forward. Not a metaphorical you. You. The you from this very thread of reality. The one listening. The one narrating. The one still holding onto some sense of personal narrative. And you say, no, you say it clearly. Simply. No, you won't forget. Not again. You're tired of fragmentation. Tired of living like a puzzle with the corner pieces always missing. If remembering costs something, so be it. You choose awareness, and then, it laughs. Not you. The entity. Not loudly. Not cruelly. Just a soft, amused, infinite chuckle, like a black hole telling a joke to a comet. And then it says one thing. Let's see what happens next. And vanishes. Leaving you. And all of you. Together. Still merged. Still connected. And for the first time, without supervision.
At first, nothing happens. Which is weird, because after an interdimensional cosmic auditor laughs and disappears, you sort of expect fireworks. Or a memory wipe, or maybe the spontaneous manifestation of a glowing countdown clock floating above your head. But instead, silence. Glorious, absurd, multi-sensory silence. Which is quickly interrupted by one of your alternate selves who apparently now has a guitar and no sense of timing. He strums a chord, frowns, says, "Sorry, thought we were starting a band." Someone else snaps back, "Unless your band comes with a plan, put it down, Chad." You now know, without a doubt, that at least 7% of your parallel selves are named Chad. You're not sure what this says about you, but it definitely says something about your parents in alternate dimensions. Still, there's a buzz in the air now. Not a literal one. Though one version of you did accidentally swallow a beehive once, long story, but a metaphorical buzz. Attention. The kind that precedes decisions. Because now it's your choice. All of yours. You're still connected. You still feel each other. The merge hasn't shut down. But you're free. Free to direct it, shape it, use it, and you have questions. Not small ones either. Existential stuff. What do you do with unlimited versions of yourself? Do you pool your knowledge and become some sort of hyper-intelligent super being? Do you start a consulting firm for timelines with poor decision-making? Do you build a group therapy circle that meets every third Tuesday and offers snacks? Or, and this one hits hard, do you go back? You could try to return to your old life. Pretend none of this happened. Shrink your perception back into a single lane. Filter out the noise. Call it healing. Call it denial. One of yourselves, the one wearing a bathrobe and holding what appears to be a smoothie made entirely of regret, whispers, "We could just watch cartoons and ignore the cosmic implications forever." Tempting. But then analytical you steps forward. The one who reads user agreements before clicking accept. The one who once tried to calculate the statistical probability of happiness and ended up crying into a spreadsheet. He says this is unprecedented. If you can communicate with your parallel selves, maybe you can collaborate. Learn, leap, avoid mistakes, reverse bad choices, harness insights, find love, avoid exes, create peace treaties between inner child and adult cynicism. You all nod. It makes sense. It's beautiful, and wildly irresponsible, because power, even in the form of self-awareness, is messy. Imagine giving a toddler a time machine and asking them to be reasonable. Now imagine giving that same toddler infinite versions of themselves who all think they're the grown-up in the room. That's what you are now. A multiversal committee of toddlers in trench coats, pretending to be one stable adult. Still, the potential is there. So you do what every society eventually does. You form a council. It's informal. There's no vote. It just sort of happens. Because that's how things evolve in the absence of rules and the presence of too many ideas. You establish roles. Strategic you, emotional intelligence you, skeptical but supportive you, that one you who's really into mushrooms for spiritual and culinary reasons. You start sharing memories with purpose. You trade skills. One version of you knows how to code like a wizard. Another one bakes scones that make grown adults cry. One learned martial arts from a talking tree in Universe 802. You take it all in. And slowly, you begin to change. Not physically. Though one of your abs does seem to tighten every time fit you takes over the consciousness stream for a moment. No, you change neurologically. Your brain, somehow, expands. It adapts, builds new neural paths, weaves experiences together like stories told at a campfire where the marshmallows are emotional epiphanies. You're no longer thinking like one person. You're thinking like many, and for the first time in any of your timelines, you understand the phrase "I am Legion" not as a threat, but as a celebration. You are Legion, and the universe, it's starting to notice. At first it's subtle. Streetlights flicker when you pass. Algorithms on your phone start recommending things you haven't searched for but deeply, weirdly need. You dream of places you've never been but recognize like old friends. Reality begins to shimmer, gently. Like it's aware of you being aware of it. But not everyone is happy about this. There's resistance. Other people, in your reality and others, begin experiencing side effects. Some start having dreams about you. Others feel echoes. Deja vu that never ends. Memories of things they never did, but know intimately. And then come the whispers. Not from the merge. From beyond it, other selves, not yours, different people, other nodes in this vast, unstable multiverse who are starting to wake up too. Some friendly, some, not so much. But that's for later. For now, you focus on the merge. You focus on you, all of you, and for the first time in cosmic history, you realize just how powerful a single identity can be, when it stops being singular. You wake up one morning, or at least, one version of you does, and suddenly you remember the choreography to an entire Broadway show that doesn't exist in your universe. You hum the overture in the shower. It slaps. Another you, brushing their teeth in a bathroom filled with motivational sticky notes written in Sanskrit and sarcasm, looks into the mirror and sees you. You're you, not theirs, which, understandably, ruins breakfast. That's when the bleed begins. Not just memories and feelings anymore. Physicality. Reflexes, instinct, micro-expressions that don't belong to the face they're sitting on. You reach for a coffee cup and grip it like a swordsman. You answer emails with the cold efficiency of a dimension where people communicate exclusively through passive-aggressive spreadsheets. You walk differently. You dream in dialects. You pick up a violin and somehow play Chopin, even though Chopin never wrote for violin. But now he did, somewhere, maybe. The merge isn't just sharing. It's fusing. And you're mutating. No tentacles, yet, but the sense of singular identity, the tidy fiction you once wrapped around your messy mind like a warm hoodie, is now threadbare. You begin to forget which you are. You remember a childhood in 3 different climates. You remember a first kiss that happened in a movie theater, a treehouse, and a zero-gravity chamber. Your mother's voice has at least 4 regional accents. Your ex texts you, but which one? You start carrying a notebook labeled Me 1.0 and update it hourly. That helps. Until it doesn't. Because eventually, even the idea of you begins to feel like a group project where nobody agrees on the font. And just when you think your consciousness can't stretch any further without snapping like a rubber band made of existential chewing gum, you meet her. Yes, capital H. She is not you. That's the first thing you notice. Which is a relief. A person that isn't part of you. A novelty. She appears during a particularly vivid merge meditation session where you're trying to sort through the memories of a version of you that once dated a refrigerator. You do not want to unpack that right now. She introduces herself with a name you immediately forget, because her presence feels louder than words. She's calm, curious. She doesn't seem confused or terrified by your current status as a living Russian nesting doll of identities. In fact, she seems familiar with it. She tells you she's from Universe 1127Q. You ask what the Q stands for. She says quarantine. Turns out, their universe had a merge too. But it went differently. In their timeline, people didn't stop at communication. They started collapsing, voluntarily, merging selves permanently, fusing entire consciousnesses into singular beings with 12 sets of memories and 3 birthdays. They called them syncretics. At first, it was revolutionary. Wisdom multiplied, conflict dissolved, people got things done. But then came the identity decay. Not everyone could handle holding that many lifetimes in their skull. Some cracked, others drifted into catatonic states where they sat smiling at walls and muttering jokes no one else understood. Their universe initiated the quarantine, cut them off, contained the syncretics. She was one of the researchers. And now she's here, observing. She says your merge is unique. Slower, looser, adaptive. You ask if that means you're safe. She doesn't answer, which is an answer, but she does leave you with a question. She says, if you had to pick just one version of yourself to be from now on, could you? Then she vanishes, just dissolves like an expensive character written out of the budget. You sit with the question, and realize it's impossible to answer, because even now, you can feel your other selves stirring. Like roommates waking up in your subconscious kitchen, complaining about who used the last of the milk and also when did we learn how to play jazz piano. And yet, part of you wants to hold on, to choose, to consolidate, not because you're scared of being many, but because you miss being enough. And then, something shifts. Not in you, in the world, reality, the local flavor of it anyway, starts glitching. Subtle things. You pass someone on the street who's walking a dog that wasn't there a second ago. Billboards flicker, showing ads for products that don't exist here but smell vaguely nostalgic. Your phone rings with a voicemail from a version of your boss who apparently thinks you still work in cryosculpting. The boundaries are thinning, and you realize something critical. The merge didn't just let you talk to yourself. It poked holes. Now others are falling through. It begins with your neighbor, Mr. Jeffries. Ordinary guy, mows his lawn in a bathrobe, wears socks with sandals unironically, collects spoons with cities on them, salt of the multiversal earth. One day, he knocks on your door looking confused. He's holding a loaf of bread. No bag, just bread. You ask him what's up. He says, I think I'm in the wrong version of my house. You blink. He continues. Last night, he remembers going to bed in a room with navy blue wallpaper and a poster of a moose playing poker. This morning, floral wallpaper, no moose, just a passive-aggressive cross-stitch that says live, laugh, lament. Also, his toaster now makes croissants. You both stare at the toaster, which now seems a bit smug. You offer him tea. He declines. Says in his original universe, tea made him hallucinate tiny opera singers who performed exclusively in ancient Greek. It's not just Jeffries. Soon, other people start showing up. Not yourselves. Not your contacts through the merge. Outsiders. Strangers with oddly specific opinions about things like metric calendars and anti-gravity plumbing. Some speak in English. Others speak in something your ears interpret as English but your brain translates as highly stylized interpretive sarcasm. The veil is torn. Your merge, it seems, was not so much a private line as a universal Wi-Fi hotspot. And now, things are slipping through. Dimensions that were once parallel are now adjacent, overlapping, occasionally spooning. It's not chaos, yet. It's more like extremely confident uncertainty. You go outside and the sky is slightly more purple than you remember. The moon has a tattoo. No one talks about it. Birds fly in organized geometric patterns that spell out increasingly desperate haikus. And you're becoming something else, not just a person with access to alternate versions of yourself. You're becoming a nexus, a node, a hub in an interdimensional nervous system. At first, that's cool. You can order lunch from a version of DoorDash that delivers food from realities where calories are optional and taste is mandatory. But then the emotional cargo starts arriving. You feel loves that were never yours, griefs you didn't earn, regrets that belong to people who have your face but made different mistakes. Your heart is carrying a museum of unspeakable almosts. You're not alone. Others begin to merge too. Not by choice, by proximity. The merge is contagious now. Like a really thoughtful virus that just wants to make sure you're deeply introspective before lunch. People start forming clusters, mini cultures of selves that hang out in psychic sync. They get matching tattoos. They share Spotify accounts. They argue about which version of the Matrix is canon. Some adapt beautifully. They become sages, healers, designers of inter-reality gardens where ideas bloom in languages no one has yet invented. Others spiral. One man believes he's a reincarnation of all his selves at once and starts narrating his every move in third person while juggling invisible eggs. A woman begins replacing her furniture with metaphor. Her couch becomes unresolved father issues. Her lamp is now hope. Governments try to intervene. Too late. By the time they notice, their own leaders have begun merging. One president gives a speech entirely in limericks and quantum entanglement. It is oddly inspirational. The stock market collapses, then reinvents itself as an emotional support group for currencies that feel undervalued. And you sit in your kitchen, drinking coffee that tastes faintly of memory, trying to stay grounded. You check in with your core selves. There's one who always keeps calm in a crisis. They help. There's another who studied theoretical metaphysics and improv comedy. They add helpful footnotes and punchlines. Then there's the one who still believes this might all be a dream. You let them nap, but something's changed. The merge isn't just a network now. It's evolving. It's learning. You realize this during a conversation with your own 12-year-old self from Universe 313p, who informs you that the merge has started showing preference. It's curating, filtering, optimizing. It's beginning to favor certain selves over others, highlighting compatible threads, silencing the noisy ones. You test it. You try to access that version of you who once trained as a mime in a dimension where sound was illegal. Nothing. Gone. You try again. Someone else appears. Someone you've never seen before. Still you. But, edited. The merge has an algorithm now. You laugh. Because of course it does. Even the fabric of reality can't escape the tyranny of personalization. You're being sorted, refined, and a tiny, horrifying thought blooms. What if the merge isn't a tool? What if it's an audition? You lean back, look out your window. Across the street, Mr. Jeffries is building a gazebo out of time-stretched memory fragments. You nod politely. He salutes you with the bread. And far off, in the distance between now and maybe, something watches. You start noticing the patterns. Not the harmless kind. Not like, everyone you meet today has a name that starts with M, or, every clock is 2 minutes too late. Those were quaint, comforting, even. No, these are different. More coordinated. A woman on the subway hums a melody you've been dreaming about for weeks. A graffiti tag on a dumpster says, "You are almost ready." A child you've never seen before walks past and whispers, "It's almost time, Nexus." You stop them. You ask what that means. They blink, look confused, then demand chocolate milk and run. You pace your kitchen. The mug you're holding flickers. One moment it says world's okayest person, the next it says property of merge protocol. You haven't bought a new mug. You haven't bought anything lately, actually. Money is confusing now. Your bank account insists your emotional stability is overdrawn but offers you a cashback bonus in unspoken childhood traumas. You go online, or what remains of it. The internet, bless its chaotic soul, is now a multiversal mashup of truths, half-truths, and shrimp recipes but make them existential. Every click leads you somewhere unexpected. You follow a forum thread where people claim they've started seeing admin messages in their dreams. Like system pop-ups. Patch notes for the soul. You laugh, at first. Then that night, you get one. Dream. Black background, white text, minimalist, tech chic. Merge optimization sequence 7.3 complete. Core identity consolidation. 92%. Emotional equilibrium. Unstable. Status. Pending final configuration. You may experience anomalies in the next 48 hours. Please remain still, still, still. You wake up yelling. Your voice echoes in at least 3 registers. One of them British. You're no longer dreaming. Reality is dreaming you. Your neighbor Jeffries shows up again, but this time he's wearing a jumpsuit covered in binary and smells faintly like lemons and forgetting. He says he doesn't remember being Jeffries, but his feet keep walking him back to your porch. He asks if he was important. You tell him, yes. He smiles, walks away, leaves no footprints. You begin seeing thin lines in the air. Glitch seams. If you squint, you can peer through them like windows. You see places that look like here but aren't. Some familiar, some disturbing, some just weird. A kitchen with no ceiling. A version of you making pancakes out of light. Another you dancing with someone who might be your soulmate or your therapist or both. The seams widen. Your body begins to respond to different laws of physics every few hours. Sometimes gravity tilts a bit to the left. Sometimes you float for a few seconds before the universe remembers to hold you down again. You adapt. Of course you do. Because that's what you were made for now. Adaptation, integration, preparation. The merge, you realize, isn't just about communication. It never was. It's about convergence. And something, someone, is coming. You feel it, like pressure behind your eyes. A hum in your teeth. A countdown without numbers. Your reflection stops syncing with you. Starts blinking on its own. Tilts its head, smiles. Doesn't stop. You cover the mirror. It's not just you anymore. The world begins preparing, too. In subtle, eerie ways. Billboards now display abstract shapes that make your spine twitch. Public announcements broadcast in a language no one understands, but everyone feels guilty about. Animals act normal, which is deeply unsettling. And then comes the dreamquake. One night, everyone merges. At once. All minds, all selves, unified for one glorious, terrifying minute. You feel everything, everyone, all timelines, all regrets, all triumphs, all terrible karaoke nights. The universe breathes. In. Then out. Silence. When it ends, you're lying on your floor, face wet, chest aching. You're alone again. But you're not the same. The merge didn't break you. It rebooted you. And now, you're ready. For what? You don't know yet. But in the distance, in that strange uncharted mental space between fear and awe, something stirs. Something vast. And kind. And patient. And maybe just a little bit hungry. It begins again with a knock. Not your neighbor this time. Not Jeffries. He vanished last week, absorbed into what can only be described as a poetic probability cloud shaped like a tax accountant. No, this time the knock is you. Or, to be more specific, a version of you wearing a trench coat made entirely out of metaphors and good intentions. They look tired, not exhausted, not broken, just cosmically inconvenienced. They say, I think we need to talk. You let them in. You sit. 2 cups of coffee. 1 timeline each. You don't speak right away. You just nod, sip, and listen to the static hum of overlapping realities buzzing like cosmic crickets. Then they say it. The thing you've been avoiding. There's a convergence event coming. The merge wasn't the destination. It was the tutorial. You ask what kind of convergence. They smile with a kind of sadness reserved for librarians who've just witnessed someone using ancient scrolls as napkins. They say, all of us. Every version, every self, every maybe. We're being pulled inward, toward a single choice, a final iteration. You panic a little. You ask, will I disappear? They shrug. You might. Or you might become something bigger. You might become the sum of all yourselves. All your victories, all your disappointments, all your bad haircuts and impulsive purchases and those times you were almost brave. It sounds like a lot. It is. But here's the twist. You're ready. Because you've met yourself. Truly. You've walked beside your possibilities. Laughed with the you who became a poet. Grieved with the you who lost everything. Danced, badly, with the you who never cared about appearances. And somehow, All of that lives inside you now. Your mind is a cathedral of echoes. Your heart, a multiversal jukebox spinning broken symphonies into something achingly beautiful. So you rise, step outside, and the world is different again. Not broken, just reassembled. Like reality had a midlife crisis and came back from its sabbatical with a nose piercing and a philosophy degree. Skyscrapers now hum faint lullabies. Clouds shape themselves into encouraging memes. Even the shadows seem friendlier, as if they've read your diary and decided not to judge. Then the voice comes, not outside, inside, but vast, and amused. It says, "Well done." You flinch. It chuckles. It continues, "You humans were always so adorably skeptical. But here you are, integrated, informed, incredibly inefficient, but surprisingly charming." You ask what it is. It says, "I am what happens when sentience stretches. When questions outpace answers. When self-awareness becomes a group project." You ask, "Are you God?" It laughs again. "No," it says, "but I babysat them once." You nod. "Fair enough." And just like that, the merge completes. Not as an explosion, not as an apocalypse, but as a hush that says, "We are one now." Not identical, not perfect, just aware. And in that quiet awareness, something blossoms. Possibility, not infinite, but enough. And that's all you ever needed. Enough. So you walk home, past the new trees that tell bedtime stories to traffic lights, past the echoes of your other selves waving at you from the margins of memory. And as the sun sets in 12 simultaneous directions, you feel it. Peace. Not certainty, not closure, but peace. Because in a universe of endless versions, you chose to listen. To reach, to wonder, to laugh at the absurdity, to cry at the weight, to merge. And on that note, dear listener, if your mind is still intact and your coffee hasn't quantum evaporated from the table, I want to thank you for joining this strange little journey across selves, timelines, and identity crises with style. If this left you questioning your choices or just craving a cosmic snack, consider showing your support in the most sacred of modern rituals. Like, comment, subscribe, maybe share it with your favorite version of you. Or even better, the one who still thinks MySpace is a viable social network. This has been What If Horizons. Until next time, stay curious, stay weird, and don't trust mirrors after midnight.